Hello everyone, welcome back to RPG Ranked. Last time we ranked the characters in One Piece Odyssey, and this time we will be ranking the chapters. This game was epic and lengthy JRPG with a great mix of old elements and new features. I was having fun for the majority of the game, but some sections are definitely better than others. So today, we're going to rank those sections in a ranking. In last place we have Chapter 7. Come on, man, what the heck is this? This is not a chapter. There's no dungeon. There's literally nothing in this. You go to the dungeon from the first chapter, you get like 2 mushrooms. I think it's 3 actually. And then you can make some cola. But, I mean, the best part of the chapter, you finally get Brook back, which is nice, but it's not like you get to use him for more than like half a battle. And then, yeah, you fight the Fire Colossus again, you kill him in 2 hits. I mean, there are some cutscenes revealing what's going to happen at the end of the game, the plot and stuff, but there's nothing here apart from that. All the other chapters are so much more fun. You can beat this thing in like 20 minutes. It's not awful, but it's nothing. Next up we have the prologue, which I don't know if it really counts as a chapter, but I'm going to count it here. When I first started the game, I was so confused what the heck was happening. Why did I start at like level 40? But I did have a really fun time experimenting with the battle system and the different abilities that everyone had before I had to actually start playing the game. It's not amazing, it's not boring. At least some things happen, unlike Chapter 7. You're introduced to Lim and Adio, and you get to fight 2 bosses in the Delcong and Fire Colossus. Sadly though, after the prologue, you have to go back to having none of your skills, and you have to be at level 1. You're like, why? But it does get you excited for later in the game when you do get the skills back. It's a pretty good introduction to the game and its mechanics, but there's not much going on compared to the other chapters. In 8th place, we have Chapter 3. This is where you fight the Wind Colossus and go through the Dust Ruins. At this point in the game, I was like, oh my dear gracious, this game is going to take so long to beat. And it did. But I had clocked in at like 25 hours after beating Chapter 2, and I had figured out that there were 9 chapters, and I was pretty happy when I realized that all the, like, 3, 5, 7, all the odd-numbered chapters are, like, way shorter than the even ones, because you're on Wayford fighting the Colossus guys. But it's just like, there's not much to do in these chapters, any of them, because you go through the one dungeon and then you fight the boss. And the Dust Ruins here, some of the fan puzzle thing made no sense to me. I had to Google. And at least there's a dungeon on like Chapter 7, but it's not one of the best. And then we have the first true chapter of the game, Chapter 1, obviously. It introduces the main plot, new battle mechanics, and other cool things, but for a large portion of the chapter you have no abilities. And so it's not as fun as the other chapters because you only have like one, you attack everything, and it's kind of mundane sometimes. And I got a headache going through the Lakeshore Cave. That made no sense to me. All the spots you had to rocket up to. It took me like 2 hours. But most of the game's mechanics are introduced here, and it gets you ready for everything else you have to do, so you couldn't really put it much lower. You get the first your skills back at the end of here, and you learn about what you're going to have to do for the plot of the game to get your abilities back. And the second dungeon in Chapter 1, the Thunder Ruins, was way more fun than the Lakeshore Cave. And it made me excited to get into the actual game, but when you're comparing this little chapter to other chapters where you're saving armies and destroying dumb guys, it's not as fun. 6th place, we had the last of those super short little Wayford chapters, and that's going to be Chapter 5. It's just the same thing as Chapter 3, but with a better dungeon. I thought the Ice Block Ruins was really fun and enjoyable. It wasn't too long. It also gives you one of the best characters in the game, Frankie. You get him back here, and there isn't much to say about Chapter 5, but it's pretty good. It's short, not boring, but there's no side quests, no new towns or anything like the next few chapters that we have. So yeah, Chapter 5 gets the 6th place spot on the list. And breaking into the top 5 is the first of the Memoria chapters. This is going to be Chapter 6, where you go to the Battle of Marineford. Probably be a lot more epic if I actually watched the anime, but it was still pretty epic. Like, I didn't know any of the characters, but you had to save Luffy's brother, and you're just basically a boss gauntlet, a bunch of battles, and they're good battles. They're not as easy as some of the other ones that you had to fight. You get to fight Marines, Warlords, Admirals. You get to fight with limited character selection. You split up. But the worst part about this chapter, and the reason it's only at number 5, is you don't move around at all. It's cutscenes and battles. There's no area to walk around. You can't go around the town. But luckily, after you finish the chapter, you can go back there with from the strange place, and there's a few side quests there, and you get one of the best skills in the game just by going there. So yeah, chapter 6 gets 5th place. I really like the town, but I just wish that there was actually like something you could do in there. But also at the same time, I was kind of glad it was shorter because, man, this game's so long. Now we have chapter 4, the Water 7 chapter. This is where the chapter starts to get really, really good. It's the second long and epic Memoria chapter in the game, and I didn't like it quite as much as the first one, the Alabasta chapter, but it was still very enjoyable. The town of Water 7 looks really good in this game, and who doesn't want to, like, you know, have a giant tower, it starts flooding, you have to fight some weird dude, and then you do that in all of them, you fight weird dudes. But yeah, it's super cool. You have to go save Usopp because he gets captured for some reason. I don't know why he gets captured. I don't know why I didn't just kick him in the face. But then again, he is the weakest character in the game, as I said in the last video, so he probably wouldn't stand a chance anyway. But the best part, dude, the music that plays in the town and on Dock 1, the music is so good. And the battle music is so good. And all the music is good. But the worst part, yeah, you don't have Usopp, which is really annoying because having characters be gone for long portions of the game gets them like quite a bit underleveled, and they come back and they're just weak. But it was definitely better than the chapters on Way Forward, but it's not as good as the top 3. In 3rd place, we have chapter 2, the Desert Kingdom Alabasta chapter. And this is super cool. I was surprised at how good it was after going through chapter 1. I mean, I love chapter 1. I'm like, this game is fun. But chapter 2 is just even more epic. Deserts in video games are often hit or miss, but I really enjoyed this one. While the battles are easy, strategic elements begin to pick up, and the plot is probably the best of the Memoria chapters because you got the 2 armies, and you have bombs and princesses and evil casino dudes with stupid glasses and 2 big pants, and then you got a bunch of bosses, and it's just really complete fun experience. But just like Water 7, you do get some points docked off for losing character throughout the entire thing. In this case, it's Robin. She was like 10 levels underleveled when she came back. But other than that, it was really fun. It was probably the longest chapter in the game, and yeah, I love this chapter, but I don't find it as good as the top 2. Barely missing out on the top spot, we have chapter 8, the Dressrosa chapter. I love everything about this chapter. The boss is amazing, town is really good, really cool looking, and you have all of your party members the whole time. Nobody leaves. You have Brooke, you have Frankie, and you can use all their abilities save for a couple with Luffy. And I had so much fun beating up these enemies in the town, beating up those sailors, beating up those mice. I did like 50,000 damage with Sanji, probably not that much, but just destroying everything. So fun. The plot's not as good as Alabasta or Water 7, but the gameplay was better. It wasn't as long, and I liked it because I wanted to finish the game, but there were some good side quests that made up for that after you beat the chapter. Or if you... Actually, I don't think you can do it. No, you can do some of them in the middle of the chapter. I don't know. The Doflamingo fight at the end was surprisingly not that easy compared to most things in the game. At least like the first time. When you go into that other place, Luffy just beats him up so bad. But the chapter has all the good things you want in the chapter and not too many downsides, so it gets 2nd place, but the plot is the reason it doesn't get number 1. But we'll talk about that in a couple seconds. Taking the crown as the best chapter in One Piece Odyssey, we have chapter 9, the final chapter. It only has 1 dungeon in it, the Sky Tower, but it has got to be the best. The majority of the game's story, other than like the little side things in the Memoria places. As explained and revealed here, the Sky Tower is one of the best, if not the best dungeon in the game. Finally fully powered up and ready to face the final boss, get to rematch some old foes, solve some puzzles, albeit they're very easy. And that Purity Garden area was so cool, so epic. The music and the final boss cutscenes were amazing. I loved it. The final battle, also amazing. Most games like these days, you can do stuff after you beat the final boss, which I love. Post-game content's like the best part of the game, like half the time, honestly. In this case, you can go finish all the side quests, open all the locked treasures, but most importantly, you get access to the challenge enemies, which are a powerful rematch with previous bosses. I feel like more games should do things like this, or make it like Ni no Kuni, where they're the same but slightly altered. I love that. Anyway, the challenge forms of these enemies are not particularly difficult. They're harder than most enemies, but they're still pretty easy. But then you do it again and you face the true challenge forms, and those things are hard as heck. Like, I loved it. Some difficult battles for once. After going through most of the game, everything was pretty easy. You have to use your items, you have to heal, you have to use your trick balls, you have to use all your strongest abilities, and there are more difficult battles in the final dungeon after beating the game. Like, those things might be harder, probably not, but they do almost as much damage as the true challenge enemies. Those tribe dudes can hit for like 6,000 damage. And who doesn't want to go fight a battle and get 10 million experience? You've beaten the game, and you can just go grind up and get 10 million experience from one battle. It's so fun. I love the Memoria chapters, but Chapter 9's got to be the best because of the story relevance, difficult battles, and wrapping up a great game in a great way. Thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more of content about One Piece Odyssey or other RPGs that you might like. We have all kinds of stuff on the channel. If you like reading more, check out the website that will be linked in the description, or just go to rpgrank.com. It's really not that hard to remember. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, RPG nerds.